Hi everyone, hope that you all are doing well. So previously on my channel I have covered how to use Spring Security 6 in Spring Boot application. So the link would be in the I button and in the description. You can go and check it out. So today we'll try and make a custom login and registration application using Spring Security. But before we jump into the video's context, I would like to request you, if you find my videos knowledgeable, please do like, share and comment on the videos, and if new to the channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon. So let's go to the IDE and start building a project. So I'm on my IDE. Let's go on file and let's create a new project. Let's go on file and let's say new project. We have to make Spring Starter project. So my project would be I'm naming my project as Spring Security 6 custom registration, right? And the Java version would be 21. My packages are com.code with raman.implementation, right? So let's go next and let's add dependency. So I need Spring Security dependency to enable the security 6. I need Spring Web dependency, and then I need a theme leaf dependency for the UI. I need JPA dependency to connect to the database, and MySQL driver dependency. So these are the dependencies that I require in my project, and the Spring version is 3.3.4. right? So let's finish and let's import the project. So my project has been imported. So this is my project structure. Let's go to pom.xml and let's check that so this is my pom.xml, and we have dependencies of JPA, security, theme leaf, web, and security 6, right? Theme leaf security 6, right? So we have Spring Security, Spring Web, theme leaf, and JPA dependencies, and the Java version is 21. This was my pom.xml. So let's start coding. First, let me create package. Right, so let me first create a package of model, and let's create a model class. Let me go on package and let me say dot model, and let me create a class. Let me create a class that is user. So in the user class I need few of the fields, that is the ID, username, password, email, and I have taken a user flag that will tell the user is enabled or disabled, right? And then I have some role dependency. So I have added a set of role, right, with many to many dependencies. So it tells that many users can have many roles. A user can be a admin as well as a user can be a user role. So now I have done the mapping. I have done the join table map. So these are the basic mapping annotations that we use. I have already used in many of the projects, so you might be familiar with this. So these are the fields that I need in my user class. Let me create getters and setters. So these are the getters and setters that I have generated. So now I also need a role class. So let me go into the model and let me create a role model also. So let me say class and let me name it as role. These are the fields that I require in the role table as well. So let me mark these entities also. Let me say entity, right? And also I'll say table. So now the table would get created into the database for this particular entity. So let me go into the user entity as well and let me mark the user entity as well. So now I require repositories, right? So let me create a package of repository as well. So let me say new and let me say package. Let me say repository, and I need repository of a role. So let me say interface and let me say role repository, and then in the role repository we need to extend it with JPA repository, right? So I need to extend it with JPA repository, and then let me tell that this is for role and the ID in the role is of long. So this is my repository for role repository, right? So let me go and let me create now a user repository. So let's say new and let's say interface and let me say user repository, and again I have to mark this and I'll say JPA repository, right? And I have to tell that the user object, the repository has to use this and the ID use this long. So these are my repositories. So now let's go and let's design the security config, right? So let's go and let's create a security config package. Let me create a package.config, and I'll create a class called a security config into it, right? So let me say class, let's say security, right? Security config, and we need to write the security config here, right? All the mappings for our project and the security part that needs to be defined, that for which role what implementation of the page we are giving, right? So this is my security config, right? So this is my security config class. We have marked this as configuration @configuration. We have auto wired a security config constructor and we are initializing user service into it. And you can see that I have marked this as @lazy. So I have asked Spring Security that only when required, then only initialize user service, right? And that's why I have marked this as @lazy, right? So I have the password encoder. I am creating a bean of user detail service. Here what I am doing is I am fetching the user on the basis of username, and then I am putting the role and I am creating an object, right? So I am returning a user details.user object by adding the role, username and password to it, so that it get verified at the login time, right? So I don't have to explicitly write method to verify at the login time. It will get verified when user detail service bean is being called, right? Then we have the authentication manager bean, and then we have the security filter chain bean. So here what we have written is we have basically need to be permitted, right? So the user can directly land on /register and /login. We have disabled the CSRF. Then we have said that the request matcher, and then we have said that form login should be /form login, and then we are adding the success handler here. So we are telling that we'll be also a second layer of success handling we have done. Second layer of security we have done by adding the success layer, custom success handler. That is checking that after the successful login, we are checking that if the person is a admin role, right? If the person is having the admin role, we are getting the user detail object, and we are checking that if the person contains role_admin, then it is an admin user, and then we have to redirect to the user to the /admin dashboard, right? /admin dashboard should be shown when the user is having role as admin in the custom success handler. After when we log in, so after login, it will take us to the custom success handler and it will check that if the user has a role admin, then it will redirect to the admin dashboard. Otherwise, it will redirect to the user dashboard, right? So this is why we have written custom success handler. So this is my user class. I have marked this as @service. I am using all the repositories here, user repository and role repository. I have created a constructor of user service where I am passing the user repository, role repository and password encoder, right? So it gets initialized. So I have a method called as register user where I'll be getting the user object and the role. This is directly fetched from the controller. Controller is fetching all these details from the UI, right? So we have to design the UI and controller now. So what we are doing, we are simply encoding the password and setting into the user, and we are fetching the role from the role repository and setting the role into the user's repository, and we are saving the repository, right? So we are using the repository and we are using the save method to save the user object, right? Same way we have also created a find by username method, so which is using which is passing a username and which is using repository to find from the database using the username. And then we have get all roles method. It is being used for user details object creation, where it is fetching all the roles and then checking that what role the current user has, right? So this is my service. So now I have to create a controller package. So let me create a controller package and let me design controller classes too. So let me now create a controller that is called as auth controller. So let me say auth controller, and let me define all the calls of login and registration. So this is my controller. This is my auth controller. I have used the user service here. So what we are doing, we are first having the call of /registration, right? So it is showing you the page of registration with some drop down of role, right? And what we are doing here is we are already fetching all the roles and then showing it on the registration page. So we need to insert the roles beforehand, right? Before we start the application. When the tables are being created, we have to insert the roles into the database. Then we have /registration call, which is basically registering the data into the database. So we are using register user here. We are also getting the role name and the user object from the controller itself. So here what we are doing, we are constructing the user object and we are using the repository save method to save the data, right? So same way we have the /login. /login is simply showing you the login page, right? And all other processes of after inserting your username and password and clicking on the submit on the login page, all the process of validation of the user and where the user should land is being governed by Spring Security, right? So if you can see that when the login is success, then it will go to custom success handler, and in the custom success handler it will see that the user which is trying to log in is an admin user or a user role user, right? On the basis of that, the controller would be decided. So now let me create another controller, that is dashboard controller. So let me say new, and let's say I want to create a controller. I'll say dashboard controller. Let me mark this as @controller. So in the dashboard controller, we are not doing any of the checks and anything. Just we are saying that if the mapping is /admin, you have to show the admin HTML. If the mapping is /user, you have to show the user HTML. So these are getting governed by Spring Security itself, right? So this is a simple controller that we are defining. Now the coding part is done. So let's HTMLs need to be designed. So first let me go to the resources and let me add the properties of database that I have to connect with. And this is my properties, right? These the URL, password and the username. And then we have used the hibernate DDL auto update, and then shows equal is true, right? So now I have to create HTML. So we have to create HTMLs of registration first. So let me go to template and let me create a new file, and let's say register.html. So this is my registration HTML where I'm accepting username, password, email from the user, and also showing a drop down of roles, right? So this is my registration HTML. I have to create a login HTML too. So let me go to template and let me create a login HTML. So this is my login HTML where the person will input the username and the password and click on login. So there is a login button for that. So now I have to create a HTML for admin. So let's say file and let me say admin.html. So this is my admin HTML, and I have to create a user HTML too. So let me say file and let me say user.html. So this is my user HTML. So these are my all HTMLs, and I have provided the application properties as well. First let me go to the database and let me create the schema for this. So let me go and let me create a schema for this. Let's say create schema, and let me run this query. So I have this schema. Let me set this as default. Now let's run the application. Let me go to the main class and let me run the application. So let me run the application. So you can see that the application is started, right? And you can see the tables have also been created. So let me go to the MySQL and let me refresh it. So you can see that the tables have been created, role user and user role. So we have to insert the data to the role table as well. So let me run insert into role, and the roles values would be user role and admin role. So the entry would be made into this table, right? So we have two entries of role admin and role user. It will take us to the registration page, right? So this is my registration page. So I have to input my username. I'm using Raman, and password 12345. Let me input my email ID and let me add a role. So I am adding a role as role admin. So let me register. So now if I go to the database, there would be an entry of the user as well. So let me see. So there is an entry for a user as well. Let's go and let's try to log in. So my username was Raman, my password was 12345. Let's try to log in. So you can see that we have landed on the /admin, right? So this is the admin dashboard. So let me do the logout again, and let's again go to register, and let me register another user with the role as user, right? So let me say, if I say that I want to add with the same username, so I have applied a check that will check that if the username already exists or not. So let's say that I want to do it by role as user. So when I click on register, it will say username has already been taken, right? So you have to add another user, right? So let me with the different username. So let me say Raman95 12345 is the password. Then I'll enter the email ID. Let me add the user as role, and let's register. So now I'll use that new user that I have created. Raman951234 is the password. Let me try and log in. Yes, so it will take me to the user dashboard. You can see the mapping also /user, and it says user dashboard, and there is a logout button, right? So this was it from this application. This was a small example that was on Spring Security 6 custom registration and login. So hope that you people like, share and comment on the video, and if new to the channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Hope to see you in the next video. Till then, happy learning.